best way to get better at programming is to practice. And in this example, we're going to take a class and extend thread to allow us to create a threaded application. As always, these files are available for download using a link provided below in the description. We'll pause for a couple seconds so you can download it, and then we'll get started. All right, so let's get started. I have in here just a real basic class, example 1. This is the first example in this module, and we want to extend thread. Well, that's easy. All we have to do is use the extends keyword and then extend thread. And thread is part of java.lang, so we don't even have to import anything. That makes it really advantageous. Now, whenever we want this thread to run, we actually need a run method. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to come over here and say public void run. And while this method is running, our thread is still active. And so this allows us to put some additional workload into a separate thread so we don't slow down our application. Maybe this is a periodic thing like an autosave, or we're checking some data off a network file, or there's a lot of different things that we can do that we might want to work with. We're just going to do something really simple here. What are we going to do? We're just going to print out to the console system.out.println running within the thread. Now, because our method is going to exit at the end of this, our thread's going to automatically stop. So there's a lot of different things that we could do. Maybe we need to run something periodically. Maybe we're going to have a Boolean value and say, while thread running is true, we're going to constantly go out and do something. And then we can call a different method to set that Boolean value to false to exit out of our thread. So this is really just a super simple method. And why are we going to do this? Well, we want to check the fact that the thread is actually running things outside of the normal timeline, because that's what a thread does. Is a thread takes a little while to get created and to run. It's expensive computationally, but it takes workload off of the main thread. And so as the application gets free time, it can run. So to demonstrate this, I'm just going to create a for loop. I'm going to say, well, I is less than 100. We're going to go in and create a new thread. So how am I going to do that? Well, simple. Let's say example 01. Then our object name, we're just going to call this tester equals new example 01. Okay, so that's nice and easy. I'm going to call tester.start. What is that going to do? Well, that's going to kick off and start the thread. Notice we don't call run, we call start. Start is going to call run, and that's why we have to have that run method. Then I'm going to do a system.out.println in our main loop. So if this was non-threaded, we would always see running within the thread and then in our main loop, running within the thread in our main loop. That's the way it would always be. That's not the way it's always going to be, though. If we come in here and run this, and we look at our example, you'll notice that sometimes we have in our main loop 2 or 3 times in a row, and then we have running within the thread. And so if I were to go back and check this, 100 times I would see in our main loop, and 100 times I would see running within the thread. But they're not always guaranteed to be the same. It just depends upon what the processor is doing, who has a little bit of free time, and it sets it up like that. So it's kind of a really nice way of doing this to simplify that process for us. Hopefully you found this example on building a thread helpful to you. Obviously, there's a lot of challenges that can be involved. We're just looking at how to build that basic thread initially. If you did find this video helpful, please give it a like and consider subscribing so you can see lots of other examples on how to get better at programming.